Hi everybody and welcome to DC Fine Art, and today we are working with oil pastel on Pastel Board, and this will be a multi-parter, but this time it's going to be with oil pastels. So here I am doing a rooster. I will end up putting the reference photo on the top, and then I'll kind of zoom in on it so that way you can see we're going to be working with just his eye today. I know that I've already started doing some of the background around the rooster. I couldn't help myself, and I used like a Payne's gray and just went over it with my oil pastel, and then used like a bigger brush to go over it. Actually, that's the smaller one. There's the bigger one, to add a little bit of OMS to it, which this brush held quite a bit of OMS actually on it, probably a little bit too much, but I was covering a much bigger area with it. And yeah, I'm still probably not done with the background on that. I just wanted to block him in so that way you guys can see the rooster maybe just a little bit more clear. But specifically on this video, I am going to be working with his eye, and I'm going to be spending a little bit more time with it, and kind of going over the reasons why I use some of the OMS and how much I use, and just kind of go over it with you guys just a little bit at a time. So there's the reference photo. Of course, I got it from Pixabay. So you can find it from Pixabay. I'll actually share the link in the description below. But also, I wanted to give a shout out to, I know I'm already starting the rooster here, but I wanted to give a shout out to one of my subscribers. Barbara, thank you so much for your donation on Cash App to me for the holidays. I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, if anybody donates to the channel, I usually put it back into the channel. So I went ahead and ordered me a couple more color pencils that I was definitely needing to order a couple more, because let's just say after the last color pencil piece that I did, I had quite a few of them start getting really, really short. So I was definitely very, very thankful for that, to where I could put in a couple more orders of individual color pencils. So thank you so much, Barbara. I appreciate it so much, and I hope you had a happy holidays, and happy holidays to everybody else on my channel too. You guys are just as important. I hope you guys had such a great holiday. I know mine was very special too. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop over to this eyeball before I end up rambling so much and miss too much of what we're focusing on here. But right now I did the pupil, and I did use my OMS, and I wetted my OMS on the brush. I then worked it into the black oil pastel and created a liquid. And I just kind of did an outline of a circle for the inner part. Now you may look at it and think, oh, well, it's not that dark, it's not that opaque, or maybe that, it doesn't have that richness that usually you like oil pastels to be. Don't worry about that, that's fine. I did that because usually whenever I'm putting in stuff, like even on this yellow, trial and error, play around with it. But for the most part, it is basically when you're adding that yellow with the OMS and going around it like I did with the yellow and the black, you're putting in a base layer. So that way, once it dries and you start dotting it in or filling it over the top of it with your oil pastel, then you don't have to fill in all the little grooves, even if you miss some spots. So you're perfectly fine. It just it does add a little bit to it, because it is kind of like an underpainting. And even if some of that shows through, that's fine, because you just added a little bit more color and tone to that. That's going to be different than the oil pastels themselves being directly on there. And you can tell the difference whenever I'm adding in some of these fleshy tones and these browns, on how rich they are. Now see, once it dried, I just go over the top of it and I just kind of dab, just kind of adding in some little colors here and there. Now, my colors are not going to be identical to the reference photo by no means. And I think because I show the reference photo that I'm using and showing it comparison to what I'm working with, you can kind of see it's going to be different than the reference photo. It's not going to be the exact same thing. But that is perfectly fine, because You're making your artwork, you're going to make your eye or your rooster, you're going to make it yours, and you're going to make it that much better. So you're working to make it better than just the photograph itself. So after taking these different color tones, I do have a damp brush with OMS on it. Now I don't blend everything in. That's not what I'm what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of blending the outside edges, or maybe some of the areas that I want to kind of blend into, like gradual blend into the other areas, lighter colors, but I don't want to blend out all of it because it will darken it, or it'll kind of wash it away. Now here I'm using a sepia, which is more of like a brownish kind of color. And I'm using my brush with OMS and working it into the oil pastel itself, creating kind of like a paint-like substance. Now that is what I use to create fine detail lines, like creating lines and sharp lines. So that is what I did in order to get these lines right around the eye, because I can't just add a bunch of dots in there and then try and make a straight line. So this definitely helps to add detail by doing this. So here I am doing the same kind of concept, just kind of getting a general idea of where my shadow is in the eye. Now, of course, in the reference photo, it is a whole lot darker. So I will have to go over it with like a darker color or a black, because it is like super, super dark. But this here just kind of gives me a little bit of an idea where it is. Now I'm coming in with some of this blue. Like I said, it's not identical to the reference photo, but the reference photo does have a blue or a lighter blue in there, and I'm just adding my blues in there with a little touch of white, because I'll end up going back in and dotting it with a little bit of white. Okay, there's my little dot of white. And just to add a little bit more like color to it, or a little bit more richness and depth, I went ahead and took a darker blue here and just started dabbing it right around the edges of that lighter blue, just so that way it adds a little bit of depth to whenever I add my dark black in there, that I got some sort of like bluish tone in there. Here's my black. I'm kind of going in there and just dabbing, just dotting everything is basically what I'm doing, just adding that color in there. It's not going to be perfect, but I just want that color in there. So I'm just adding some in. Now, as you can tell, it's really rough, right? But when I go back in with my OMS and my brush, it's just damp with OMS, it's not dripping wet, I can go in there and fine tune that and make it more sharper and make it more detailed, just by adding a little bit of OMS and making my brush a little bit damp. Here I'm adding a little bit of this raw umber. Actually, it's not raw umber, it's burnt sienna, sorry. And then some flesh tones. Adding a little bit more to the top there, just kind of give a little bit more of a darker tone coming off of that shadow. Now here it is with the damp OMS brush. I'm going to start fine tuning some of this. And here's the dark, or at least the black and the blue. And look, you'll just see how much it fine tunes it. It kind of stands out a little bit better. It's amazing on how that just shapes around the eye so much better than just leaving it on there. I'm going to come underneath and add a little bit of a sepia to it and just add some more dark back into it. And see, this eye is already glowing, which is pretty cool. It's what I wanted. So my eye is going to look, it's going to look different compared to the reference photo, but it just looks that much better to me. Like, it's just something that it just pops a little bit more than what the reference photo has. So here I go with more of my pinks, or like my fleshy pinks, and I'm just working in different shades and colors. I mean, I just kind of dot it in, add some colors in, add some shades. I'm just throwing in different colors that are similar. I don't have every single color on these oil pastels. So my set is a 72 set, but I don't have something that is really, really similar to the reference photo. So I'm having to, and I know my reference photo just disappeared on you guys. Um, but maybe I should get that back. Hold on. Let me see if I can get that reference photo back for you guys. All right, so I got that reference photo back now. It's only going to last for just a little bit longer. It's not going to be all the way throughout the video. But if you're needing that reference photo, like I said, I went ahead and posted or listed the link below. We'll have the reference photo so that way you can go over to Pixabay and you can be able to download it yourself. So it is, that's why one thing I like about Pixabay is they do have free to use photos for good little reference photos. So here I'm just kind of creating and making up my own colors. Like I said, I do have a 72 set of this, but it doesn't have every single color. Like I wish I had more like peaches, like more of a peach tone would have been nice. Some like I just wish I had some more of these peach tones, but I didn't really have too much. They put oranges in there, they put reds in there, but I didn't really so much have any peaches, like a peach tone, which is really kind of odd. I thought, usually I would think that they would give me like a peach tone, but it did not have one. So what you do in that case, if you don't have the color that you're really wanting, you just kind of improvise. You just kind of make up some colors, mix them together, um, just to kind of give you a similar look. It's not going to be identical to the reference photo, like I said, but it is going to have like more of a similar tone that I can create. But it makes, and there goes the reference photo. But like I said, you can get that down below. But yeah, I just kind of used some pinks, I used some reds, I used multiple colors in this. So there's a little bit of white, but then I went back in and started using like a really, really light flesh, which kind of looked like a white. So I threw a bunch of colors in this. I think even for the shadow around the eye, I even used some like kind of like a merlot or like a purplish reddish tone, but it's more purple on more of the purple side. So there's some pinks. And see how I'm just kind of dotting it in, just filling in the colors where I need to, and then just layering on top. I'm kind of making a little bit of a rigid look, and then I'm coming right below it with a darker red, so that way as it kind of gets into its shadow there, it gets a little darker. And I'm just kind of dabbing it just a little bit and then bringing it up into the painting itself. Now I'm taking my damp brush, and this is just something that I'm just rounding these edges, blending them out, making it just a little bit smoother in there, and then bringing in some of these other tones and bringing them into the other colors. So like I said, I'm not blending every bit of it out, but I am kind of bringing some in, like some of the lighter tones in, or bringing some of the dark into the lighter tone. That way I'm kind of having that nice little um, blending, like merging of colors to where it softens it out as it goes with each other. It's not too harsh. Now here it got really close to that eye, but that's okay because I can come back in with my dark brown, and I can start um, cleaning that up just a little bit. Put my dark back in there. It's always going to look a little bit funny once you get started with it, but once you keep going with it and you start creating and you keep on making the rest of his face, like the rest of the bird comes together, it should come together just fine. At least that's what I hope it does. Now here I'm getting the sepia. It's like a brownish tone, and he had like these little speckles right around the lids of his eye. And I just went ahead and dotted those in and kind of blended just a little bit of them out because they weren't just solid, just dots. They were kind of I don't know, they were kind of like freckles, but they weren't like solid circles there. So I had to blend just a little bit of it out. And here's like this merlot color. Actually, maybe I have it here. I can see exactly what color that was. It was like, I think this was it. Why is it so dark in here? I can't even see. Let's see here. My eyes are getting bad. Oh, it's a word that's hard for me to pronounce. I think it's like Bordeaux or something. Bordeaux. Yeah, I think it's like Bordeaux, but it's like a purple. I don't know why. I want to call it like a merlot. And who knows? I'm probably even saying that wrong. So here I'm kind of putting in a little bit more of a reddish tone, like a darker reddish tone, or at least not really a darker one, but just kind of putting in that reddish tone back in. This is all going to be just like you go back and forth with it. You add a little bit more, or you blend here or blend there until it looks right. So it's just working with it, adding more layers, adding more tones, adding more colors. It's not just one color here or there. It's a mixture of multiple colors to get that right tone that you're wanting. So here I'm taking a little bit more of a darker flesh. I mean, it's not really darker flesh, but it's a fleshy tone, but it's like darker than the ones that I was using, I should say. I wonder what that, let's see. Let's see if I can see the color on that one. Actually, it's a light English red, believe it or not. And here I'm adding in some more of that pink tone to the top of the eyelid. Cascading it on down, but I also needed to make that underneath lid a little bit darker because otherwise you can't distinguish between one or the other. So here I'm adding a little bit of a line of a darker color for the little crease. And then I should come back in, let's see here, adding a couple of little dots, like little freckles that he's got on his lid with the sepia. And here is again with that Bordeaux color, adding a little bit of shadow to underneath of his eyelid there. And then I'm coming around and just kind of blending that top just a little bit. And I actually took the wrong brush. That brush is a little bit too big for this painting, but I grabbed a hold of it and it was still damp, so I just kind of used it. There, I came back in with the correct brush that's a little bit more smaller to where I can actually work a little bit of detail into it. All right, and this basically sums up the first part. I know it was a very, very short part. Time was definitely very scarce this time to find to be able to work on my artwork. But we will have a part two. Hopefully, we can work on the rest of the skin and then, or like his rest of his face, and then also his beak. I can't wait to get to his beak. But also listed down below, I will have in the description the reference photo that I got from Pixabay. I'll go ahead and put the link in there for that. And let's see here. Yeah, if you're new to my channel, click the like and subscribe. And heck, if you guys are my subscribers, clicking the like definitely helps put my channel out there so others can see it. And also listed below is my website where I sell all my original paintings, which yes, I need to start updating and putting some new ones in there. I do have them, I just haven't put them in there yet. I should be getting those in there soon. And then Fine Art America, where you can order some of the prints or like coffee mugs, and they got all kinds of cool little things that you can do. But I do have some of my prints on there. Like I said, I need to put some of my newer stuff in there, so that is yet to come. And yeah, I think I summed it all up. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little part of the oil pastel. We'll be working more with it on the next part next week. So I'll see you all next time. Bye, you guys.